Hi, everybody, and welcome back to On the Roof. And today we're resuming our conversation with Freyja Inanna. In this process, how important is vulnerability?
Vulnerability is absolutely essential in this process. And if someone isn't willing to get vulnerable with us, we can't work with them. It's absolutely essential because to really go into the emotions that are stored in the body, to release those traumas fully, to be witnessed in every state that you can possibly be in, your rage, your sadness, your grief, your pleasure, that requires vulnerability. This is the most intense and vulnerable experience that anyone will engage in their life as far as going through a healing process. There's nothing like it. And it's also the safest, most unconditionally loved and supported that you will ever feel. And that's what our clients tell us. That's the container that we hold. And that vulnerability is absolutely essential.
And what about trust?
Absolutely essential as well. And yes, people can be like in a space of being scared shitless because they can feel the extent of expansion and growth that is possible for them. We even have people who, I mean, it's common for people to say, yes, I feel this, I'm in, and then, oh my God, I'm terrified. I don't know if I can do this. And what we tell them is that, yes, you can, we've got you. And the extent of the contraction that you're experiencing right now, the extent of the fear, that's just an indicator for the amount of expansion and growth that is possible for you to experience moving into this. They take that leap of faith, which is trust, both in themselves and in us, and it just creates a huge and powerful transformation. People don't even look the same when they're done.
There's also these different ways other people do of breaking those blocks, mind expansion, not just drugs, but like, I don't know if ayahuasca is quote unquote a drug or if mushrooms are quote unquote a drug, but they're definitely mind expansion materials, if for lack of a better term. Do they serve a purpose? Is it something that you believe in? Do you guys incorporate that into what you do at all, or?
We do believe it has its place and purpose. It's a useful tool at times, but we do not incorporate it in this process because literally, like the orgasmic part of this work, along with the breathwork techniques and other processes that we're using, we've literally had people describe it as being somewhat like a mushroom journey, one of the really beautiful, pleasant mushroom journeys, not that dark night of the soul kind of experience that can also happen. But it can be really, we want them to know that this is their power. This is what they're creating within themselves. They didn't have any plant that they relied upon to do that. And what we've seen happen is that people who are like into using the plant medicine journeys and whatnot, it can be very mind expanding. It can open them up to possibilities and to see what's possible, but without creating the body level shifts to correspond with that, then they tend to, fall back into some of their old patterns. And it's something they have to keep doing to really to continue with the changes. And with this process, you're clearing on all levels, not just opening the mind. So it's much deeper.
I did a lot of LSD. I had a lot of great times and did my own form of mind expansion. It was never after some spiritual thing. It was, going to a concert and it just enhanced the experience, or whatever you were doing, it brought an extra ingredient to the table. But so there was never intent or anything like that. But shit did happen. And to be able to do it with what God's given you within yourself, not something external, whether it's a plant or whatever it is, how natural it is.
Yeah.
Because all of these
Yeah.
rationalizations come in again. Oh, well, this is grown from the earth and God put this here for us to do this with. Okay, maybe, and I'm not knocking it at all. But for somebody else who wants to achieve the same result, does not have to go that route. And that's what you're offering. And that is, I just think, more authentic.
Yeah, and we're not, opposed to somebody having their plant medicine journey outside of this experience and opening to new possibilities, but to actually create those shifts as something that are fully embodied and incorporate them on all levels and actually create permanent and lasting change, then they need to do that on a body level as well. So it could be a supplementary thing, but it's not a complete thing in itself. To do the plant medicine. Yes, you can use marijuana for healing cancer, those kinds of things. It's incredible medicine for some things, but as far as actually creating the kind of healing that is necessary to shift out of the trauma cycle and become fully embodied as the powerful being that you are, and create that knowledge on a body level, it's not going to do it.
I also think you have a built-in rationale, justification, excuse, whatever, when you take something and as a result of what you took, you had this experience. Whereas if you didn't take anything and you have this experience, that is with you forever, and there's nothing to explain it to anything other than you.
Yeah, you own that power.
Right.
You get a sense of your own actual capability and your power, because when you give the power to the plant, then you're not owning it.
Right.
You create a dependence on something, like you said, external, to be able to tap into your power. When it was actually your power, it was just opening your mind to it.
Right. Well, that's the thing, too, because I think these emotional blocks that we have, and sometimes we don't even identify them as that, they're so deeply ingrained that not only do we need, sometimes even professional help can't get you through. And that's why a lot of people feel that they can, that it's a sexual, that level of ecstasy from something sexual, that you lose your mind, you get lost, like, and as you were talking about the ecstatic experience of an orgasm, right? And I was thinking, remember when you were like a teenager and you like started to go to clubs for the first time, and you're out there dancing and sweating, and you let your body go, and it's so euphoric, and when you come out of there, it's like such a, like, you gotta like unwind because your adrenaline was up so high. I mean, that's why kids club, because it's so much fun. Like, you're out there where you're like, and it's all expression, and it's not like, if you're able to go there, some people really go there, they can just let go, and now it's called ecstatic dance, and it has like, it's really more specific for and purpose.
It's being in the body and being in your pleasure, whatever that pleasure is, surrendering to that.
Right, but what I mean is, when you're a kid, you're just being free. It's like, you don't even have a name for this. You don't even, you know what I'm doing? I'm letting go, man. That's it. I'm just I'm being, and then all of a sudden it's like, you've had this experience, and it's so euphoric, and it's not much different than what you described earlier. I mean, it's totally different, but then again, a lot of this stuff is what happens chemically within us as a response to what we're doing. And when you're outside of your head and you're just like grooving or whatever, you're like, wow, that felt really good. And you're only like, you're thinking about what it felt like because you were lost in the moment. So that's the whole thing about letting that all the shit go and just expression, whatever that is. And sex can do that. You can get lost in that moment, and that's when the vulnerability is at its greatest. And that's when, if you're doing it guided by the right person, then you can address what you just opened yourself up to be able to address. Other than that, like you said, dancing in front of the mirror, you're ready. You're fucked, because it's already ego, right? So if you're in the right setting, like, sometimes it's sex that can break that block. And now you can maybe address this issue in the other areas of your life, but you have this, and it's an orgasmic experience. I want you to give your take on how that works.
So for the orgasmic part of this of the sessions in this work, we are teaching people to fully surrender into their pleasure, to be fully expressed in it, because again, like you were talking about the dance, you're in your body, you're being fully expressed, you're allowing the energy to move through. And part of why so many people can't really be in their pleasure is they're not allowing themselves to be fully expressed. They're not allowing it to come through in their body movement. They're not allowing it to come through in their voice. They're not allowing themselves to actually feel and surrender into it because of the trauma, the blocks, the fear, the emotions, the rage. One of the key things blocking from people from their pleasure is the rage they have stored in their body that's acting as actual resistance to receiving. Not only that, but the the beliefs that we've instilled in people around sex and pleasure, the beliefs about receiving and how it's selfish and all of this limiting bullshit that society has taught, or that it's shameful. Shame is another huge thing that gets in the way of people feeling.
Unbelievable.
And like you talked about the ecstatic dancing. In a lot of religious cultures, that kind of dancing is shamed. We're not even allowed that. We're not allowed to be in our bodies at all. I never ever got to dance growing up. Having music with a beat or moving your body in ways that could be considered sensual was not allowed. That was evil. That was wrong. So they're shutting us down. We've shut our bodies down. It's incredible the level of shame and repression that so many have.
It is so prevalent.
Yeah. And even men, they limit their orgasm to a little pelvic sneeze rather than a full body experience.
Limiting themselves to a pelvic sneeze.
I mean, like, now they're coming to awareness that women can have multiple extended orgasms, that women can have ejaculation, that women can have full body orgasms. But and this is coming from a place where so often women didn't even orgasm at all, but men always have been able to orgasm. That's been essential for men. But they're so repressed in their sexuality that they're not taught to move the energy through their bodies. They're not moving their body. They're not expressing their pleasure with their voice. How many men are silent when they have an orgasm, or very little sound? And really, for a woman, for her man to actually express his pleasure in his voice and his movement, that's a fucking turn on. And it's not just men that get pleasure from a woman's pleasure. It's the other way around too. But it's been so limited that this is how you have to be a man, to be masculine, to do this. It's to be like so self-controlled and unexpressed in your emotions that it goes through into their pleasure too.
Let me ask you a question now to not get off the subject, but veer a little. When you're talking about an orgasm, how many people do you think in their adult years have never experienced it? Or don't even know what it is, maybe? I mean, literally have been misinformed or not informed at all.
As to what
it actually is. What is an orgasmic experience?
Well, most men do have an orgasm when they ejaculate, but they can happen separately. You can have some man who ejaculates prematurely and doesn't have a full orgasm because they are so desensitized that they're only feeling right there. They're not moving the energy through their body. So they're very limited in what that orgasmic experience is. But for most men, an orgasm they're going to experience with ejaculation, it will be a powerful experience that releases all kinds of chemicals and endorphins in the brain, and it will cause a contraction of the pelvic muscles. They're going to feel that contraction of the pelvic muscles, but they're going to feel it like moving up through their body. If they're allowing the energy to come up and move through, it actually comes up and moves through all the chakras and circulates back down. If you're open and aware to it, it's so much more than what is actually most men are experiencing. Most men are limiting their orgasm to the pelvic area, and some will feel it a bit more. but most are not experiencing it to the extent that they could. So it'll be that contraction of the pelvic muscles, that rhythmic contraction, and that surge of pleasure that is a peak in the experience. Then ejaculation happens, and then the endorphins happen, and you know, they have all these feel good things, and most men will just kind of zone out at that point rather than taking that moment that is so beautiful and powerful to connect with their lover and keep the connection going and create an even deeper level of connection that's possible. But like I said, men could have that experience through the full body if they learn how to move the energy through. And in that case, they're going to feel like an almost convulsing of the entire body, including their limbs. They might feel energy coming out their head, their hands, their feet, everything. They're going to feel it through their entire body. And like I said, they can have that multiple times if they learn ejaculatory control.
But you don't learn that in school. I mean, how many guys do you think know that?
Very few.
Right.
Very,
in
very
Catholic
few.
school, we weren't getting that 1%. Message. I can tell you that for sure.
Less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the education needs to be given. It needs to be out there. And that is a huge part of our online program for men and for women, is teaching all this shit that is so important, as well as ways of communicating in relationships. So much, really, like incorporating. We put as much body level stuff in our online programs for people who can't come here, or in supplement for the people who do come here as well. Anyone who does our retreat program gets our online program too, but it's a really great program in and of itself. And like I said, we include so many body level experiences and processes in the online program, and we love it. This teaching people is so important to what we do, and until we know what's possible, we can't reach for it, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah. And there's so much more for both men and women to experience with whatever gendered partner they have. It's so much deeper, so much more powerful.
What about women?
At least 30% of women, they say the medical numbers are, can't orgasm, especially not with just penetration. And there is even a question in science as to whether all women have G-spots, which is fucking ludicrous. And all women do have G-spots. Every woman's body is different, and some are more prominent than others. Every woman can orgasm. And I mean, they've just barely, not that long ago, mapped out the clitoris, which was much, much more extensive than what they believed. Now there's becoming an awareness that women can have multiple orgasms, and there's an awareness that women can ejaculate too. And so more and more women, as a result, are experiencing it. It's the education. But what we have found is that the numbers of women who haven't been able to orgasm with penetration or orgasm at all is probably higher than what the numbers are saying. But we've never had a woman who can't orgasm when we've worked with them.
And you've taken women that have not been able to do it up till that point, and you've got them there.
Yeah. This is a clinical process. This is not a two-way experience between us and our clients. This is a clinical process, hands-on, where, we do not have sexual relationships with our clients. Right. They have to feel 100% safe to be completely vulnerable and do this work. So we are the mentors, we're the guides. It's a hands-on process, but it is like a very sacred ritual. It's really, really, really powerful. But yes, all women can orgasm. Sometimes it takes, sometimes it's not going to happen on the first session because they have so much rage and so much trauma to clear before that pathway can open up. Mm-hmm. But it does happen. It's so powerful, and it's really beautiful. And regardless of whether they get to a full extended G-spot orgasm in the first session or not, they will by the end. And also, they are still getting in touch with their body and their pleasure and having it rewired to greater and greater levels of pleasure with each session. So it's an incredibly beautiful and powerful process. And even in the online program, we're teaching women how to tap into their bodies and into their pleasure, to release that shame that has been instilled in women in our society about their sexuality and their pleasure. And, we like to take away the energy from words that have been used to shame women too. So one of our modules is completely, it's called Embracing Your Inner Slut, right?
Yeah.
If that word holds no energy, nobody can shame you with it.
Listen, there's again. I was just going to say I got 5 things to say. I know I'm going to forget 4 of them. So, one girl talked about how you cannot even, unless you know your own body, you wouldn't know how to communicate to somebody else how to please you if you don't know what you like.
Mm-hmm.
And this just makes logical sense. I don't know who can
It
punch a
does.
hole through that theory, right? But yet, it's still one of those taboo topics to talk about, right? How important is that in the process when you're trying to work with someone, male or female, and you're trying to just, get them to a place of comfortability with themselves and the process of, clearing and getting to that point of pleasure?
Masturbation is the dirty word, and you're not supposed to do that. And people don't talk about it. But we're teaching people to actually make love to themselves, because that's what it's meant to be. And it teaches us how to really tap into our bodies. And if we don't have a partner at the time, then we still have a self-love practice. So that is really beautiful. We're encouraging really beautiful self-love practices and using those practices to actually access your subconscious mind and release the shame around it. So it's really, really powerful. It's essential.
Right, but self-love is another word, a term that you can often just limit to the politically correct way to say masturbation. And there's so much more to the term. It's not just a sexual thing, too. But people just limit it to that, maybe, and refer it in those terms. But it could mean taking yourself
there's
shopping.
actually people who want to limit it to the other.
Well, yeah, sure.
That's part of it, and that's actually where a lot of people actually limit it, is they say, okay, yeah, I'm loving myself because I'm going out and I'm doing this for myself. I'm getting my nails done. I'm having the bubble bath. I'm doing the candles. I'm doing this. I have a really great self-love practice. Well, what's your masturbation like? Well, I never do that.
Right. It's part of the equation, but not limited to that.
Yes.
But not
absolutely.
to be ignored. That's your general consensus.
Absolutely. And the other part of it is that lots of people will masturbate but hold a great deal of shame around it. It's creating a shift in that as well, and taking the practice to shifting the way they engage in that practice and using it to actually release the shame with the powerful affirmations in conjunction with, so it's really, really important. And the thing is, when people learn all of this stuff and shift the energy, then doing this work with us is only the beginning, because when they have a partner and they're both coming together from this place of being fully expressed and being able to surrender into their pleasure, men don't just penetrate women penetrate men energetically. It's like we penetrate the heart, we penetrate each other's minds. So we're penetrating on all levels.
Go ahead now, don't let me stop you. Don't let me get in your way now.
Yeah.
Listen, you just used the term the inner slut, right? There was a comedian that did a thing about suicide bombers, right? And they do this because they're guaranteed 27 virgins in heaven. That's their belief, right? And he's going, you know what? Who would want 27? I want one good slut. I don't want 27 virgins. I want one good slut, right? But and it's a funny joke in that context, right? But when you really think about, we put this connotation on these words, and it's really just a way of, because I have an insecurity somewhere, so I'm going to shame somebody for something that I got no business having an opinion on. In grammar school, I talked to this girl. She shared the story. The sexual shame that she got as a young girl just because she had big tits, and they used to say they started a rumor about her that they weren't real. She stuffed her bra or something. How This is so like,
That's horrible.
but it's
Yeah.
just like, who gives a shit, right? But it's traumatic for her at that time in her life. Like, the peer pressure at that time in your life and in school, we can't, I mean, this is not a big deal. Now, she has gone on to be this proponent. She runs this thing called the STD Project, and she's cooler than, she's as cool as it gets. And she's really helping people that have these, real shame around, contracting a sexually transmitted infection or disease, right? And she's just like, hey, let's learn how to protect yourself, and and she's just real responsible about it and out there. This is her mission. She serves a tremendous purpose. She's
Wonderful.
great. Yeah, she's really good. But she shared the story about that kind of shame and around this, and you can call a girl a name and not even understand what it means, and really fuck somebody up, not even understanding the magnitude of shame and, what you're doing to somebody else. But these words and the stigmas they carry, I'm really, noticing it in these last, I would say the last 49 years. The first 10 years, I didn't give a shit about it. I got to be honest. But now I watched two women have a conversation, right, on the word cunt.
Yep,
right?
that's the big one.
Well, I mean, is there a more derogatory term? You know what they said? They actually did a history on the word, right?
Yep.
This was a really, really intriguing conversation. It was informative, and it really showed just our ignorance as a society, right? That this word was literally began as a term of endearment, and it's morphed
it's actually
into the most
associated with
shameful
the goddess,
term you could
too.
throw on somebody, right? But
It was a sacred term.
a sacred term. I mean, okay, so you've done your work and you understand, but this is the most derogatory term you could offend somebody with. It's never done in anything but an offensive manner and a degrading manner, right? And it's probably the most powerful thing, all because of how we perceive it to be.
Yeah.
And a shift in perspective changes everything. I think you offer this. I think you offer a refreshing perspective on something that's so vital. And if we can understand how vital it is, that if we can look at it in this nurturing sense and how you describe these things and the value on how it can carry on and affect in a positive manner the rest of our lives and the people around us who we claim we love so much, yet we're going to carry this resentment and this chip on our shoulder and all through life and walk around with this, I won't even say bad attitude, but it could be better if you just kind of open your mind a little bit.
But also release the shame and the trauma around it, because that's what's holding us back. The shame and the trauma are keeping us in that cycle. And so if we can see it as what it is, and then do the work that's required to heal that and shift those beliefs, then everybody benefits. And the results are actually priceless. But you can't put a price on the value of what doing this creates. And not only for oneself, but for everyone around them.
So has this been the most transformative experience in your life? I mean, getting out of your religious restraints that you were, born into, I'm sure that had to be the first required step before you could ever get here. But as profound as that was, has this sexual experience that you've had transcended even that?
Yes, absolutely. This whole process of releasing the emotions, the traumas, and then fully embracing the sexual energy and integrating that, and it's completely transformed my life. Anybody who wants to can look at my photos and see the kind of transformation from the inside out that has occurred over the last few years. It transformed my life so much that when I saw this and I knew that this is what I meant to do. Before I started doing this work, I was a registered nurse and a midwife. And so I've done a lot of healing work. I've done other healing modalities as well. And when I saw this, what this creates, I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do. This is why I'm here on this planet. And now, rather than midwifing people through birthing their babies, I'm midwifing them through rebirthing themselves, their true identity as who they are and who they're meant to be in this world. It's powerful. That was all training for me. And this whole thing absolutely, it's been worth every bit of it. We both had six-figure incomes before we quit and started doing this work, and we are so committed to it. It's been an incredibly intense experience to just, sell everything we had and move here and do this work, and that's all we do. And we're committed to it. It's been challenging to reach the right people, but we absolutely love the transformation that occurs in people. It's so powerful and it's so worth it. Literally, I'm not the same person. When I went through the training that I had to experience the sessions to be able to be a practitioner and do it for other people.
Right.
I'm not the same person. I'm who I came here to be. I'm who I originally was before all that other bullshit got laid on me. And I repressed who I am. It's beautiful.
Wow. I mean, how... I have no choice but to endorse what you do and how you do it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Because often shame will keep people from asking questions. It'll keep children from asking questions.
Yeah,
So
shame and embarrassment is what I think prevents the parents from bringing the topic up in the first place and having that conversation. So that's why I'm asking you this question.
Perpetuating it.
Yeah.
If you don't bring it up with your kids, you're perpetuating it. And so, at certain ages, you'll bring certain things up, but also making sure you never shame a child for asking a question.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And maybe even asking them what they're hearing from other kids at school or things like that, and making sure that they're getting good information, because so often kids at school talk about it, and porn tends to be the number one education go-to for young people these days, and that's bullshit. And so for boys, like from the time they're tiny, we need to be teaching them to respect girls and each other, and to not put their hands on people. And when somebody says no, that it means no.
You used the term earlier, sacred sexuality, right? And what you're really offering is a real pleasurable, magnificent experience. It's not this degrading, has nothing to do with that. But the misperception is like she's bringing something to the table that I don't, people are uncomfortable with it, man, because of the way you present it, and you present it really well. But people are uncomfortable with it. It has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. It's people's uncomfortability with it, right? When you use a term like sacred sexuality, how, yes, you have to expand, but I want you to use your words and talk about that as it's not one of these dark things. But you also mentioned before the BDSM, and if there's an association with that term and what you're doing, people are going to shut down. Some people, but you're bringing it up in a different way, and you're not bringing up dark, degradation, danger, So I just want you to clarify that in your way.
So, we talk about BDSM on our Sex and Chocolate Roundtable to take away the taboo and to open up a space where people can learn about it in a way that's actually real, and what it is and why people engage in it. And there's so many misperceptions around that. BDSM actually has nothing to do with the work that we're doing with people in session and on the table. Right. So there's a clear line between that. And some people are using BDSM as a form of a coping mechanism for their trauma, and we do bring that up in the conversation. So it's really, really interesting that some people are using it this way. And so we're clarifying that people are really, really uncomfortable in engaging something that is so intensely going to take them into integrating their sexuality, or so intensely going to take them into experiencing and expressing their rage, either one of those, or their sadness, or anything. That can be a really big, intense, way outside my comfort zone type of experience. And what I can honestly say is that growth and healing is not going to happen in your comfort zone. So the further outside of that comfort zone it's taking you, the greater the potential for that growth, for that healing, for that expansion, for that actually being able to surrender into your pleasure and experience higher and higher levels of ecstatic bliss with your partner or with yourself, it's incredible. There's nothing that I know of that's going to create more rapid shifts and more dramatic shifts more rapidly than this work that we're doing.
Obviously, the subject matter is intriguing unto itself, but your legitimacy and the legitimacy you bring to it that is priceless.
Thank you.
So, yeah, how can people find you? Anybody that might want to work with you? How do they follow up and learn more about you and what you're doing?
Michael Inanna and myself are both on Facebook. They can follow us there. We have a business page on Facebook as well, Inanna Sanctuary. Our website is www.inannasanctuary.com, which is INANNA sanctuary.com. Anybody who would like to explore further and look into whether or not they might be a good fit to work with us, because we don't work with everyone and we're not for everyone, like as far as not everybody's ready to jump in quite so deeply. But for those who are ready to just, they're sick and tired of being where they're at and not being able to create the results in their life, experience the pleasure, release the trauma, get out of that vicious trauma cycle. We are here for those people. Anyone who's 100% committed, we're here and we will go the distance with them. And it's a beautiful, powerful, intense journey, and it's priceless. But we'll offer them a free 45-minute to 60-minute phone call to really create some breakthroughs, go do some really deep self-discovery, figure out what's blocking them from having what they want in their lives, what's underlying, what traumas are underlying, all of that. It's a really beautiful process. This one phone call can shift a lot of energy. So we'll offer them that for free, and they can schedule a call with us through our website. There's several places that they can do that, or they can go right to the apply page, which is inannasanctuary.com/apply, and fill out the application form and schedule their call. So it's powerful, powerful stuff.
This was really good. I mean, you were really, really, really generous today.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome. It's been a really amazing conversation. I love having these beautiful conversations and opening up possibilities.
Yeah. I love just getting your message out there. And I just, for those who are open to it, great. Let's get more people that are open to it, the information from you. Anyway, listen, thank you. God bless you, and namaste.
Check out our online programs if you don't feel like you're quite ready for the hands-on intensive. Our online programs create a deep level of shifting as well. And who knows where you'll be at the end of that. Well,
listen, my love to Michael, and how many 4,000, how many kids? 4,241?
13.
Listen, and I say that in such a joking, jestful manner, but you really are the epitome of the great feminine energy that you, again, gracefully display. So this is an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.